Hi, I'm Rick Jensen. Welcome to my fly tying channel. You know, one of the things I was lucky to learn early in my fly tying career was the loose loop method of attaching materials to my fly. It's a very important skill to have, as there are many materials in which you'll want to put it to use. One of the more difficult materials to attach to a fly correctly is the quill wing. This was used a lot in the day and is still used frequently on Atlantic salmon type flies and fancy flies. It's certainly not in huge favor right now, but the skill is still well worth knowing, because there are other materials, often some of our modern materials, that can benefit by this method. So let's take a quick look at the loose loop method on a model and then on an actual fly. In order to be successful with quill wings and a number of other materials, you need to be familiar with the loose loop method of attaching those materials. I've taken the liberty of adding some string to this bar here, this shaft. The shaft representing the shank of our hook, and the string, of course, representing the thread and our bobbin down below. Being right-handed, I would bring my materials in from the left with my left hand, pinched between my thumb and forefinger. I'll then pinch the shaft in there with the materials. Holding everything in place, I'll take the bobbin now with the thread and draw it up between my thumb and the shaft, pinching the thread. I'm not exerting any pressure around, not wrapping yet. Then I bring the thread down on the other side and pinch it there. Now I've got this loose loop. And with that loop then I can draw the bobbin down, tightening that loop so that I'm exerting the pressure on the material straight down onto the shank of the hook, not rotationally as that would go, which would force the material to wrap around the hook. Let's take one more look at it. Pinched material, draw the thread up, pinch it between the thumb and the shaft or the shank, draw the thread the other side of the hook with a loose loop, so you've got the slack here, then draw down on the bobbin, tightening on that loop. The other thing to know about tying perfect quill wings is that you must choose quills from opposing feathers from the same section of the feather and in equal amounts. So using my bodkin here, I will pull out and actually will count the number of fibers I separate out here. It'll be 4 or 5, but whatever I do on this side, I will do on this side. So I get a matching set of quill wings to set on the fly. Let's take a look now at how we mount them on the fly. So what I have in my vise here is a Royal Coachman, and it's going to be a quill wing wet fly. And I've prepared this ahead of time in order to demonstrate the tying in of the quill wings. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I have separated out and cut off 2 sets of quills matching, okay, from opposite feathers. Now these I will pair up so that the flare of the wings, you can see there's a bit of a curl. That curl will be out on the fly. They'll curl away. Sometimes you want those curls to go towards each other, sometimes away. On the Royal Coachman they flare out. And so what I will do is pair them in my hand so that they are a set that are equal and opposite to each other. Get those set there together. And this is a little bit delicate part. You want to be very careful with these once you've cut them, so that you don't split the fibers apart from each other. Okay, if you can see there, I've matched those so they flare outward and form a V, and they sweep upward. They're going to be sweeping upward on the fly. Makes a very handsome fly, by the way. And so here we go. We set the length. I want those to come to about the bend of the hook for length, not as long as the tail, but longer than just the shank of the hook. Now, taking my left hand, I will pinch them in place there as demonstrated with the string, and now we will execute the loose loop method for tying them in. I'm bringing the thread up, pinching it with my thumb, bringing it, pinching it with my finger, and drawing it down. And once I've done that, I should see those wings set into place. I like to do a second one before I remove my hand. Now we've got them a bit off. I'm just twist them back into place there. And there we go. We've got our quill wings set at the right angle and equal and opposite to each other. That loose loop method is crucial as you need to apply the pressure straight down on the hook shank, not forward, so it doesn't roll the wings away from you and split them. Now each successive wrap of thread needs to be on or in front of the original wrap so that you don't exert torque on them behind that original wrap, which has got them locked in place. Here I can now cut off the tag ends. And then I can finish building up my cone head here. And we'll call this fly complete with its set of quill wings tied in place using the loose loop method. Use my whip finish tool, and we'll just wrap that off. And we have a quill wing Royal Coachman tied in a wet fly version. It's a dandy fly. It's sort of fallen out of favor. Not a lot of people tie it anymore or use it. Handsome looking fly. It certainly does get thrashed when it's mauled by the trout, but it's still very effective, especially on cutthroat trout, but not much less effective on rainbows. I still love this fly. Certainly sturdier with the hair wing than the quill wing, but it's a smart looking fly, and if you want to develop that ability to tie quill wings in using the loose loop method, I think you'll find it useful for a lot of other flies and materials you use. So tight lines, good luck, and thank you for watching.